Hi, astronomers! It's Fri-yay! And we are here for science, and we are still talking about the phases of the moon. Now, I have two really cool assignments that I think you're going to love, and they're special today because we're learning about the moon, and guess what? Tonight is going to be a full moon. So make sure you get outside and you be on the lookout for it. It'll be really, really special. So that also means that if tonight is a full moon, that in the next week, you'll notice that the moon will become a waning gibbous. And then there'll be the last quarter, the waning crescent, and then back to the new moon. So go out tonight and look for the full moon, and then see if you can notice as it's changing, okay? Now, real quick, let's just review before I show you the two new things that we're going to do today. So there are 8 different phases of the moon, right? And it's changing because it's slowly orbiting or going around the Earth. And as it's traveling around the Earth, the way that the sun's light hits it changes, right? Just like we saw how the way the sun's light hits our gnomon on our sundial, the shadow changes. Well, the light and the shadow on the moon changes as well. So that sunlight is so powerful, and it affects so much of what we see. So the first phase is the new moon. And then it waxes as it grows in light, right? The first half of it, it's growing in light. It's waxing. And it's first the waxing crescent after it's the new moon. Then it moves to the waxing crescent. And it grows light on its right side. Then it has completed its first quarter because there are 8 different phases that it has, right? And if I split this in half, that's one half, that's the other half. But let me split it into quarters or fourths, right? Here it has, let me write it in a better way. 1 of 4, right? It has completed the first quarter when it's a waxing half moon. When it's a waxing half moon, it has completed the first quarter or 1/4 of its cycle. After it's the first quarter, it's moving on to the second half, right? Here's a second quarter. Moving on to the second quarter. Well, it's the waxing gibbous. Now remember that waxing, it's still growing light on its right. And the gibbous means it's larger than half a circle, but it's not a full circle. So that silly word gibbous means in between a half circle and a full circle. And once it's at the full moon, it has gone halfway through its cycle, right? It's done 2 of 4, which is half. But now after it's grown in all of its light, it's going to start to wane, which means it's going to lose its light. And the light now will stay on the left, and it loses its light on the right. So we have our waning gibbous because now again it's between the full circle and the half circle. So we have our waning gibbous, and it's in its third fourth, right? 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. And after it's the waning gibbous, it's in the last quarter, which is because it's entering the last quarter of its cycle, which can also be referred to as the third quarter because it just completed its 1, 2, 3, right? It's completed 3 of 4. So this waning half moon can be referred to as the last quarter or the third quarter. Same thing, it just refers to how it just completed the third or how it's entering the last, okay? So after the last quarter, we see the waning crescent, and it still has its light on the left, right? It loses light on its right. And then we have the new moon. And it has completed all 4 partitions, right? All 4 equal shares, or all 8 cycles altogether. All 8 phases of that moon. Now, we know that that sun is what gives the light that we see, right? That the sun does not move. The earth spins as it travels around the sun, and the moon moves around the earth, right? Which is why we see those different, the different amount of light that we see. So this is a really fun activity. Well, first let me read. I have a poem for you guys to read, and I think you'll really like it. And it helps us remember all of these different phases. So I sent this to moms and dads. You can print it out or you can read it on the computer. And if you want to illustrate it too, you know how much I love illustrating the things that we read. So, the moon phases poem. The moon is a sphere, big and white. It loves to reflect the sun's bright light. It goes on a journey every 29th day. Around the earth, a hide-and-seek game it will play. In the beginning, it is new, out of sight from me and you. Then it waxes in white as it grows its light, waxing crescent and quarter and gibbous too. When full, the phases are halfway through. Now it flips to its left and starts to wane as it fades away in its orbit lane, waning gibbous and quarter, then crescent too. It's complete its orbit and is back to new. So this is a really great poem. If you want to highlight some of the certain different words, maybe all the words that talk about the phases of the moon, up to you. I'll let you do what you want to do with this. I would love to hear a recording of you reading this too, okay? Now here's the really fun activity that I know you guys are going to love. So I dropped off this paper as well to Mom and Dad's, and you'll see that it's just like our phases example here, right? We have the sun, we have the earth in the middle, and here where we have the 8 different phases, we have 8 blank circles. So here's what you're going to do. I also dropped off some Oreos, and what's really cool about Oreo is that it's black and white. And you're going to carefully open up the Oreo, and we're going to create what the different phases look like. This, to me, looks like a full moon, right? And this, to me, looks like a new moon, right? So you should really only need 4 different Oreos, but I dropped off more than that, right? So you can complete, because if there's 8, and if this is 1, I make 2 out of it, right? So then you're going to carefully open up another one, right? That one was easy because I needed one on one side and one on the other. But when you open the other, you can have Mom and Dad's help you out with a utensil, or if you feel brave enough to do it, just let Mom and Dad know, right? And you can move the icing off of one side and put it onto the other. So here I created let's put it this way. I created my waxing gibbous and my waxing crescent, right? So the waxing gibbous happens right before the full moon, and the waxing gibbous comes right before the full moon, and the waxing crescent comes right after the new moon. So you can use these Oreos, fill in the names of the different phases, and then take a picture and send it to me before you eat them. Okay? Sorry, guys. Be on the lookout for the full moon tonight. Have fun with our moon phases, and know that I love you. Bye, guys.